Hey, welcome to Bible 365. I'm your host, Kathy Carter. Today I am bringing you chapters 13 and 14. And I just want to make sure it's 13 and 14. And we are now, the beast is coming up and the beast is going to mark his people. If you are interested, I want you to stick with me and I'll see you guys in just a minute. Hey, welcome to Bible 365. I am your host, Kathy Carter, and this channel is here to kind of merge Bible living with Bible literacy. So, we are going to be using the New Testament this year in order to understand what it's like to live as a follower of Christ. I have a link below in the description that I have a download that will bring you to a chronological Bible reading of the New Testament. So, what I want you to do is read every day and join me and hopefully some friends as we talk about what it means to live as a kingdom builder. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to Bible 365. I'm your host, Kathy Carter, bringing you Revelation. This is the last book in the Bible. If you've never been here before, I want you to go back to the beginning of Revelation. So today we are in chapters 14 and 15. Go back to the beginning. Probably, I mean, if you've read this before, then maybe you're going to find some interesting stuff in there. If you have never read it before, definitely go back to the beginning before you even dive into this, because otherwise it just gets entirely too confusing. So it's so brief with the beginning because there's just too much weird stuff to get into. This is a prophecy. That's what we mostly need to know is that this is a prophecy. It is given from God to Jesus, from Jesus to John. John is then giving it to all of the rest of us. This was the way it was purposely done. This is the way they discussed it in the very beginning. And so this is the way it's being done for us. John is inside, I hate to use it, but I don't know what better term there is to use, but inside this prophecy. So he's on the island of Patmos and he's seeing these visions, right? And so it's like, then I saw this, then I saw that, then this, then that. Does that mean um it's it's a timeline? I don't necessarily know. I don't want to say that that's necessarily what this language means. And I'm saying that because it's prophetic. And so we don't always know what that language is supposed to represent. I'm saying it because a lot of times language overlaps where it'll be past tense, past, present, future tense, right? Future tense. All of these things are sometimes connected inside of a sentence. And so we don't always know. There are definitely some numbers that there are used. There are definitely some times that are used. But again, could they be representing something different? And I'm going to say yes, because it's a prophecy. It is not historical data. It is a prophecy of what's to come. It's Jesus revealing this vision to John for us to kind of, I want to say, get a gist, be prepared, have an understanding, to know that what he has done in the past, he will do in the future, right? He's done these things. I believe in you. I have faith in you. So I know that these things that you say are going to come true. And some of the really, really important things are in these chapters. I think they're in every chapter, but I mean, in these chapters, as far as why it matters to us. So he's been in this vision. He sees these seals that are being opened. Only the Lamb can open these seals. They've been closed for years, and now the Lamb can open these. And these are a series of tragedies that are to come. 7 seal opens. Certain people get marked with God, and then we see this like heavenly sort of war happening. And now we're kind of moving into this second portion. So this heavenly thing was happening, and then it says, chapter 13. Then I stood on the sand of the sea. So again, this is like John's now sort of in a different place, right? Like it doesn't say he walked to this thing. He was there and now he's here, right? This is, I want to be clear because it's unclear and because it's prophetic. And I don't want us to go, well, it obviously means this, or it must mean that, or it definitely means this. I think we need to be careful of those things. So as he's standing on the sea, he sees this beast come up. Now, this beast was the thing that was promised. This dragon was this thing that was up in heaven with the woman that bore a child. And now this beast has been unleashed. So the dragon was like heavenly thing. The beast seems to be an earthly thing. The beast is something that has come up from the abyss. It looks different than the dragon, but it sort of represents the dragon, which I think is really interesting, obviously, because they look alike. One is on the earth, one is in the heavenly plane. That's something that Like that's imagery that I feel like has always existed throughout scripture, whereas like we are doing something here that represents something that's going to be happening on the heavenly planes, the heavenly realm. So I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. This is, we already saw this. On his horns were those diadems, which are sort of like crowns. We've seen this before. On his heads, a blasphemous name. The beast which I saw was like, and then they name a bunch of animals that it was like. It seems to be something that we're not used to, something that we haven't seen before, something that we can't clearly understand. We can't clearly have represented. So it has a bunch of these different things. And it says, the dragon gave him power, a throne, and great authority. So this dragon being, and I'm calling it a heavenly being, I mean sort of a supernatural plane being. I don't mean the place where God dwells, right? Like the heaven where God dwells. It seems to be the dragon was a supernatural being, and now there's this earthly being that's the beast. And the dragon gave the beast all of his power on earth. Now, for me, I feel like this represents the same story juxtaposed, right? So, like, sort of on the opposite side of God and Jesus, right? Like, God gave Jesus all of his power, the Son of Man, right? Came here to dwell on earth, and he gave him all of his power. It seems like the exact same thing is happening over on this side, where the dragon has given all of his power to the beast. And then he says, and then there's this one point where his head was cut off, but he survived. So here we go again with these things that sort of relate to each other. It's the same similar thing that happened to Jesus. Jesus was crucified and he was resurrected after that. And then it says, because of that, everyone was in awe, like, oh my gosh, right? And we can look at a vision like this, I think all of us, and we can go, we would never worship the dragon, right? Like, or the beast, right? Like, obviously it's scary. Obviously it's evil. Obviously it's terrible. We would never worship that thing. And yet, I hope we can recognize that, like, that's currently a lot of the stuff that we're doing now. I'm not saying it's here on earth right now. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm not saying it is. But we have been taught now to worship and to love and to glorify things that are very against what we would have done even as short as 100 years ago. And I think it's cycles, right? Like, I think, you know, we will worship godly things, and then we worship really dark and evil things, and then we worship godly things, and then we worship dark and evil things. And I feel like now is kind of a time where we're worshiping dark and evil things. And I always say, like, the TV shows we watch would really be a representation of that. Like, right, if you're looking at your playlist on Netflix, right? Like, what is consuming the most amount of your time, right? And if it's like horror films, or if it's films about, the bad guy always winning. And I don't want to sound like a nerd that's like, oh, we should never be watching those things. Although I really think that we shouldn't be watching those things. Um, if it's filling your stuff, it's just something to be aware of, right? Like, I remember when I was younger, I used to watch soap operas when I was younger. Like, my parents watched my mom, not my parents. My mom watched soap operas when I was like little, like 5, 6, 7 years old. And then I remember like coming home from school and watching a soap opera when I would be at home. Like, as soon as I came home from school, there was a soap opera on, and probably young teens, like 10, 11, 12 years old, whatever. But I remember like loving the villains. Just, there was something about them. They were a little more attractive, right? I feel like that was something that they always represented. They were a little more attractive, a little more like charismatic, right? There was something about the bad boy that I personally was always drawn to. And so the more I consumed that kind of thing, the more I got sucked into that. Like, but look at the villain side of the story. The villain, I even look now at the movie Maleficent, which was done really well. I mean, I really liked it. But the truth of the matter is in the original representation of her, she was a dark fairy. Dark fairy means she was evil, she was bad. And now we're like, yeah, but shades of gray, right? Like, she wasn't supposed to be dark, or it's not her fault she was dark. And we're starting to glorify that and like lift that thing up. And then the nice ones are looking terrible. You look at the movie Wicked, which again, a beautiful, amazing production of a movie, right? But Glinda who was always represented to be the good one, is evil. Like she's pretty terrible. And the witch, who was the witch for a reason, she was the bad guy. Witches were always bad guys. She's now glorified. So dwelled on that a really long time because there was so much like kind of in there. But what do you watch, right? Like what are we looking to? What are we lifting up? What are we going? Yeah, but it's not their fault. Yeah, but I know it seems really evil, but there's really a nice side underneath, right? Like would we say that about regular people if we knew them on the street? And we're starting to glorify that kind of thing. So we can easily be turned. Is my point. Like we want to be in the glory of the Lord, but really only when it suits us, not when it really comes down to a lot of like the hard work, the turning away from the other things. And so I say that because, like, very easily this beast could be something that we would deem attractive, right? We could fall into the trap because if we couldn't fall into the trap, millions of people wouldn't fall into the trap. And then this book wouldn't be here because everybody would be glorifying the Lord. Everybody would be doing the right thing all the time. And the reality is that we don't. So it says they worship the dragon who gave authority to the beast. So because this beast lost his head, regained it, everyone was like, "Oh, great. Now they're worshiping the dragon," right? So this is again the same line, whereas like we look at Jesus and go, "Oh my gosh," right? The Lord resurrected him. Now he's up at the right hand of the Lord, and he points us to God. That's the point of Jesus, right? Jesus came here not to have us worship him on our own, but to point us to the Lord, right? The Lord who created all things. This evil beast is doing the same exact thing. And then it says, all who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of the life of the Lamb. So if you are not a believer of Jesus Christ, I know I'm digging into that a little bit, you will be worshiping something else. We all think that we don't worship. I don't worship anything. You worship that goofy guy in the sky. I don't worship. I don't. We all do, right? We all worship one thing or the other. It's if anyone has an ear, let him hear. And then it says, then I see another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns and like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. He exercises all the authority of the first beast. So now this new beast performs signs just like the first one did. And again, this one is pointing to that one. So here we go with this sort of like union of three things. They're all pointing to each other and giving like the authority is kind of coming in and around all of them. And then it says, who dwell on the earth by those signs which he granted to do in the sight of the beast. So he was doing these things when it was around the beast. And then he says, he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads. So we got to be careful about what this means because this could mean any number of things. Would you know it if it was happening? I don't necessarily know. Is it? But what we do know is that those who are following the Lord are not going to be getting this. You're not going to accidentally get marked by the beast. And then he says, here's wisdom. So this is something that we need to understand, right? We need to understand that there's this number 666. We don't necessarily know what that means. Some people say it's the letters in the Jewish alphabet, right? They're marked and they have like a cipher sort of thing. I'm going to say right now, we completely don't understand what that means. We might have some hints and some ideas. Nero might have been one of these things. And I don't know, like, is there still something to come? Or is this something that has happened already and the time still isn't right? Again, I want to keep those things like light in the palm of my hand. I don't want to hold on too tight. They're sort of up in the air. Moving on to chapter 14, it says, then I looked and behold, a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000. These are the ones that were marked. Is this an exact number? Oh, I want to say no. I want to say it represents something. I don't know for sure, but I want to say it represents the peoples of the earth. And we saw earlier, he marked these 144,000, 12 from each tribe. So like the remnant is what we've always called it of the nation of Israel. I don't necessarily know because later he talks about what these people are like. And again, I'm going to say it seems we don't have this kind of perfection on earth. So what he says about the people is he says 144,000 So uh, they're going to sing a new song, they're going to learn a new thing, they're going to be with the Lord, right? And it says, these are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to God and to the Lamb, and in their mouth was found no deceit, for they are without fault before the throne of God. That's not true of any of us until the Lord comes. Um, Now, is that what Jesus did for us? So then we represent that thing? I'm going to say yes. So if that means those who follow the Lord, then that's what I think that the whole point of this is, right? It says that they were virgins, they didn't know a woman. So I'm thinking this is the representation of what the purity of following the Lord looks like. And this is how they see us, and this is how they know who we are. It says, so after this, we see another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach. So now there's a group that seem to be following the Lord. And then there's some that seem to be following this other beast kind of thing, with a representation of 666. And then an angel comes down, or maybe before, maybe during. Again, time is a funny thing. Um, and this one is preaching the gospel. So we have to be listening for the gospel. So this angel is preaching the gospel, saying with a loud voice, "Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come." This is the time. Another angel followed by saying, "Babylon is fallen. The great city is fallen." So again, like this is marking that the time is coming. A third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast in his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself is going to drink the wrath of the Lord." This wrath is really bad. This is what I wanted to point out for us. We need to be aware of this. So you're going to say to me, "Well, I follow the Lord. Why do I need to be aware of this?" Fear of the Lord is wisdom. Okay. So, and everyone's like, "Well, isn't it love? Is it?" No, we need to recognize that the Lord is this big, massive thing, and that judgment is going to come, right? And there, and reaping, he says here, reaping is coming, where we're splitting those who follow the Lord, those who don't follow the Lord, and the reaping is coming. So it says here, the full strength into the cup of his indignation, he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. This is what God's wrath looks like. Jesus took on this wrath for us. When we believe, genuinely put all of our faith and our understanding in him, we recognize and we listen, right? We listen for his voice. We know him versus the beast. We worship him. We don't worship the beast, right? And then that wrath that he is pouring out on anyone who's following the beast, we don't get that wrath, right? But we don't not get it because of anything fake. We don't not get it because of the good things that we've done. Well, like, yeah, I'm a really nice person. I'm a good parent. I take my kids to school every day. We do sports, and I make sure that they say please, thank you, and God bless you. That's not how you don't get wrath poured out on you, right? It's by having faith in Jesus and following the Lord because of that, because that's where Jesus is pointing towards. Here is the patience of the saint, those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And then I hear a voice saying, right, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord. It is not easy to follow the Lord. I know that. I live that. I live it every single day. I live it in a day where extravagance and greed and gluttony are the rule of the land, and lust and theft and lying and hate and anger. Like, this is the way we live every single moment of every single day. Even if you're nice sometimes. Well, I joke sometimes, right? Like, everyone's nice sometimes. And so this is what we live in all the time. So it is hard. And it is hard to separate yourself from those things also, right? Like, to pull away from some of those things that look like they're fun. Like, they have that gorgeous apple look, and we just want to bite into that apple, that temptation, right? We have to fight against those things because of our faith in Jesus. So then it says, yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works follow them. This is what we want for us. Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud. So here we go. A white cloud comes. On it is the Son of Man, having his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. So this is what he's going to do. Another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice, thrust in your sickle and reap. The time has come. I am separating the good wheat from the bad wheat. This is what this Son of Man on a cloud is doing. So he's coming down to separate those who follow and those who don't follow. Another angel comes out of the temple, which is in heaven, also having a sickle. He comes out of the altar and he cries, thrust in your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth. Okay. It's a little gory image. So he's gathering these clusters, he's crushing them. And then it says the blood is filling up to like as high as a horse and for as wide as like 160 miles. I think it's something like that, right? They use different measurements, but it's something like that. The clusters of the vine, I think, represent the nation of Israel. And I'm going to assume if they are getting crushed, they're the vines that aren't following Jesus, right? The ones that didn't pursue the Lord. This is a powerful vision. I don't know if I have it right? Like I'm going to openly admit, I don't know if I have it right. But like these representations throughout all of Scripture, the vine is where Jesus comes from, right? We're supposed to be in the vine. We as Gentiles are grafted in. They are the original root. They're the tree. They're the chosen people. But there's going to come a time where they didn't follow. And if you don't follow, like you can call yourself whatever you want. All of us can. We can say whatever we want. But the Lord knows our hearts. And he's going to come and he's going to clean house, right? And where are you going to land? Where am I going to land? Am I following faithfully? That's where we're ending for today. So it's something to think about. It's something to really consider in your faith and in your walk with the Lord. Where are you really believing? Where are you really putting your faith? And how are you responding to that faith? So if you have found this to be a blessing, like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.